super harsh.
Just want to say hello to Leonie. Leonie.
Hey, Lena.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, let's all start waving to each other. Yeah. All right. So how many people are we now? We have to.
We are 10.
10. Oh, 10. Yeah, I see it here. Yeah. We get used to this new Zoom screen that sort of scatters them all over the thing. All right. Did we get any message of absence, Cosmin?
Sorry, did I get what?
Did anybody say he would not be there?
Yes, about 4 people.
Did anybody leave a message that he couldn't attend?
Yes,
4 people.
Yeah.
So the rest should be here. So who are the 4 that couldn't make it?
I'm just trying to figure out wait a second.
I think it might be Arnoud because he's in Italy at the moment.
In Italy?
Yeah.
He's in
On
quarantine.
holiday?
Yeah, he's enjoying his holiday. Also, he probably
Which part of it? North, not the north, I hope.
no, south. He has a house there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hi,
Welcome, everyone.
Who said hello? Oh, that was Per.
Yeah.
And Lina.
Hi, Per.
Hi.
Oh, Lina.
Also.
Hello.
Hi, Lina. Hi, both Linas.
Hi. Yes,
Hello, Linas.
Lina.
Okay, so I think we
So I
should
have prepared here.
in one minute for now. Yeah, so let's fight. Let's start in 1 minute, Alina.
Yeah, now that the Linas are here, I mean, we should go wait.
I have here the topics that we could address. Of course, we can also talk about anything else related to these topics. These are just as guidelines mainly. And here we have the timetable. I feel like an hour, it's not enough, but we'll talk fast and we'll manage it somehow. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the topics I have selected. I have to admit that it was a bit subjective. I've chosen the topics because I'm the one very interested in them. And the first one was how to adapt your marketing strategy during the coronavirus. And I think that during this period, taking advantage and we're modeling our actions accordingly, and also to bring forth, you know, our humanitarian side. Okay, we're businesses, we're agencies, but at the end of the day, we're all people. We're selling to people, we're marketing to people. And I think that intelligent brands will be effectively communicating and continue to be, you know, genuine and authentic in their messages. And as for automation, innovation, artificial intelligence, I think coronavirus, sadly, was the push that we needed, in the sense that they should have become a higher priority a long time ago, but it's okay, it's happening now. And I think during this crisis, the need for innovation is stronger than ever, because people's lives have transformed, they have different values and different needs, and brands and agencies should pay attention to avoid a tech clash. You know, that moment when their values and the customer's values don't align. And they should also invest and focus more on digital platforms and the kind of experience that are alternatives to meeting in person, you know, in-person interactions. Another point that I wanted to make that is very important is that we're all eager to be innovative, to propose all kinds of applications and so on. But we must keep in mind that we might, in our excitement, about that in the future. So in the long term, we should be very careful with this privacy settings, because the device-driven efforts to fight against coronavirus are already sparkling conversations about privacy, because people are worried that their data could be used against them later. And as for the marketing trends, I think it's obvious that everything technology related that enforces a contactless interaction, online interaction, platforms, it's a given. And I also think that, or maybe that's me, will become more involved in society's problems, you know, doing more pro bono, if you will. Yeah, so if you
becoming part of more like a bigger discussion in society. So
yeah.
I'll share my screen. So I've prepared a little presentation. I won't talk for too long. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Good.
Very,
Sorry?
very colorful.
Yes, very colorful. Need sunglasses for it. Okay, so what I want to share with you is just some examples of how we experienced the last few months and the kind of projects that we've been working on, or maybe didn't work on anymore. You probably recognize some of the things that I'm sharing, but I just want to sort of through how we experienced the last period since March. What I've been noticing is that clients really started living in the here and now. So instead of having discussions about what will we do in the last quarter of the year, or maybe even the first quarter of 2021, what I'm noticing is that most of the work that we do is really short-term projects, and I think it's maybe it's a no-brainer, because no one really knows what's going to happen and what will happen with their budget. But when I think of opportunities now, and if I look at, you know, where do we have the most budget secure, it's really the short-term projects. And maybe it's more of the short-term projects, because sometimes some clients that are not really struggling are sitting looking at like little maintenance. What I'm also noticing is that our support and So even though I think in the first week when we had the lockdown announced, a lot of projects, a lot of phone calls that I had were like, okay, can we stop this campaign? Can we put this on hold? Can we need to rethink this? And what I'm really noticing is that I so much phone calls during the day, and that, yeah, the clients really appreciate if you just sort of, even though all the projects are on hold, that you keep in touch with them and really help them, you know, through this really difficult, period of time and insecure period of time. And I see a lot of difference in level of automation and video calling, which leads to some clients, for example, an insurer, next day everyone video, etc. And another client, doesn't know how to work Zoom, and it takes half an hour to set up a presentation and things like that. I'm sure you'll recognize this. But what I'm getting to is that we have spectrum, and I'm sure you recognize this as well. I hope some also doing really well. Struggling, and there's a lot in between that's a little bit vague. But examples for us, you are all pretty much all aware that we work for restaurants and star restaurants, Michelin star restaurants. Yeah, they just had to close their doors, and I'm sure it's pretty much the same in countries. It's slowly open, still really insecure. We also are working on the launch of a new hotel concept. The owner of Easy Hotel, it's sort of related to EasyJet as well, approached us and asked to launch a new hotel concept, which was a really cool project that we were working on. But of course, yeah, the investors are now rethinking if they should actually launch this concept. And we also had a gym and a box school and had to close doors. Projects were frozen immediately. So that went from going really fast and working on all kind of social media posts to pretty much nothing in one day. And then we also have gardening products, which I can show you an example of later on. They were exploding. Everyone's just, working in their garden because there's nowhere else to go. So they were exploding really. And we have, of course, Weber barbecues. They see a big uplift. And we also work for the joint automotive industry. And I have an example to share later on, but it's like all the manufacturers of automobiles and motorcycles and bicycles, and they're all joined forces in this association, and we work for them, and they really notice that this is a time where people are really thinking about their mobility and the way they go about it. So for example, there are no traffic jams in the Netherlands all of a sudden. Of course, everyone works from home, but people also are slowly starting to go into the office, but the work times are much more flexible. So isn't this a time to start thinking about, why do I go into the car every day? And why don't I, for example, consider a motorcycle instead of my car, or maybe an electric bike, or maybe there are so many options in between. So what they're noticing really is that this is a great moment for PR and really to make people think about their own mobility. So I'm going to show a few examples of clients on both ends of the spectrum and what we've been working on. So first, Michelin star restaurant Amsterdammertje. I think last year during IDN we presented a really cool case. But yeah, we've been doing social media creation for a few years. That was ongoing. Every month they paid us a small budget. It's like 1,500 euros a month to create social media content. But of course, immediately that stopped when the restaurant had to close. And it had to close for over 2 months. So our work stopped as well. And what we did was really, first week was of course a conversation with them, going like, oh, what do we do? And so stressed about the financial situation. And then together we created a new delivery platform with a new concept, because of course they can't guarantee Michelin star quality if you do like takeout meals or home delivery. So with them, really in co-creation, we created a new idea, also on their offer, what they could offer. And we created a concept around it. And it's based on a Dutch expression, Jos will know, samen uit, samen thuis, which means if we go out together, we go home together. It's an expression. If you go out with a group, it's not like you let one person go home by themselves. Like if you go out with a group, we go home with the group. We finish together. And that's the concept that we used. And together we thought of what's the most interesting way to execute this, also to keep the budgets as low as possible to see if it's a success. So André is the star chef, and we gave him instructions on how he could create little videos himself to announce the website, of course, and the concept, but also that every week he would announce a new country. So the concept was every week he had 3 meals, so with meat, with fish, and vegetarian. And it's all based around the country. So here you see one, Vive la France. That was a theme week, and they had like a home-cooked meal or a traditional meal, for example, coq au vin in this case. And there's another week you see here, it's Russia. He would announce a meal for that week, and they had a maximum amount of dishes that people could come and order for every day of the week, and they had to pick it up at the restaurant. And he made all these videos himself, and what we did, we made a platform where people could order. And that kept the budget really low, but they were really, really, really successful. So every week almost they were sold out, and they sold every meal and they were at capacity because of the distance that they had to keep in the kitchen. They had a maximum capacity, but in those weeks they were sold out, and it was really good and successful. So now we're back on creating social media content, and they have the budget for it now that they're slowly opening. So my learnings from that was, don't give up on the client because there's no budget. So you go like, okay, the restaurant is closed, there's no budget, campaigns are stopped. Don't just give up, like keep going. And what I really noticed here is co-creating the concept and the offer. So really go into the open discussion about, okay, there's limited budget. What can we do together? Really helps executing this in a really successful way. So a second example is for Dutch Association, how should I say this? Dutch Association for the Automobile Industry. And this is a campaign, they really noticed that, of course, the logistic part of mobility was in times of a lockdown, because everyone's ordering online, everyone's doing the groceries online, and they really wanted to tap into the fact that there are some people working really hard, and of course it's people in hospitals, but also the truck drivers really keep the country going basically at that time. So they asked us to create a campaign to thank truck drivers for their hard work during the times of COVID-19. And we came up with this. It's like social media content for every brand. So every truck brand, and they can distribute it themselves on the social media channels. So the objective was really to enhance the added value of the association. So they were really fast with giving this content to their members and to the different brands. And the indirect effect was, of course, the awareness for the truck brands, that they could share this on social media and get like the sympathy from the truck drivers and logistic companies. So that's another example how we really create a positive campaign during COVID times, and really fast and really simple, really low budget basically. Then I don't know, do you have time, Alina? I'll show you, I'll skip this one.
No, you can present it.
No, please, go ahead.
Okay, cool.
It's really interesting.
So one of the clients that's doing really well is our client EcoStyle, and they have garden products. So it's really products to take care of your grass, I don't know the English words, your plants in the garden, the ground, etc. So they were doing really well. They have been our clients since about 3 months, and we were running a campaign for them anyway, just because it was start of season during March, of course, and people would go out into their garden. And what we saw is that this campaign was doing extremely well, but it stopped in May, I think. So I think something I wanted to share is what we did then is we saw, like, of course, we saw there's potential there, but how do we utilize it as an agency? And what we did was we looked at that we thought there because of COVID. And then we split up our agency, everyone. So people that don't usually work together, we just did a lottery. Yellow organized a lottery. We have one creative person. We have one production colleague. We have one project colleague. And just like we do with IDN, we just created a group and with a client, no brief, but just, you know, think of ideas or maybe a campaign, or really, yeah, how can we unlock some budgets with these clients and get to like a good idea. And we had a little bit more time on our hands, and we did it all on Microsoft Teams, and it worked really well because at the end we had 3 presentations for 3 different clients that were really cool, and we never have the time to do anything like that without a brief. So it's just something I wanted to share. And what we did was we suggested a new campaign during the summer months, tapping into the fact that people, of course, would be less likely to go on a holiday. And it looks something like this. So we have, as an incentive, we have a towel, like a beach towel. And it says, like, I'm ready for it. You can reserve your spot in your own garden. And we have like a range of it's one concept, and it's like a range of different posters in this case with different countries. So, for example, for tapas, you don't have to go to Spain, and we're pointing out, we're highlighting the products that's enhancing your Mediterranean plants or your olive trees, etc. You don't have to go to France to feel the campsite feeling. And then we're highlighting the product for the grass and for your field. And then the third one is you don't have to go to Italy to be romantic. And we're pointing out the rose. And we really thought of how can we make this up in the last half year of 2020. And we took a few steps. First thing, we sat down with a team and we said, well, over the last 5 years, what clients did we like the most? Like, why did it work? And you know, what kind of criteria do we have for like a really good client that would and then we thought, in this campaign, what do we want to offer potential new clients that are, you know, alike with the ones that we that we want to get in? What do we do best? So what do we want to focus on? And then we created a concept and a plan. So we have a lead list of about 150 companies that we're approaching with this campaign, this concept. It's called Try Before You Buy. And what we do is we recognize that you don't just agencies. Like it doesn't just happen that you just wake up and you switch agencies. You to try before you buy. You can choose one assignment or one project with us, and we have like a short list of projects that you can choose on. For example, we create an animation video, or we do page or a card that we're sending in a brochure. With we're getting a little bit edgy in design, and what we're saying is like, oh, is the crazy heavy? Yeah, of course, but don't keep your head down. We'll get you, like, we get you to lift off your business. So we have some cases in the brochure, and then you can go to a landing page, sign out, and then you can decide which products you want to try with us for free. We have some testimonials there also from clients, big clients that we work with for years, with a link to their LinkedIn profile to show that it's actual people. Like nice businesses, so looking forward to it.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I'm sure
Thanks.
it will work wonderfully. It's really an awesome idea.
It's a trial, but yeah, I think it's at least it's something that we can learn from and hopefully get business out. Yeah.
Anyone has any questions for Leonie?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Leonie, for the presentation. I had a lot of interruptions because of my internet of the office. It seems to be that my internet is better than the internet in the office. What kind of projects are you offering as a free test for the clients?
That depends on the company size and what we think their marketing budget is. So we base it on revenue, and we have 3 segments: A, B, and C. A being the largest ones, and they can have, like, we've decided to offer them projects of around 5K. So, for example, also logo development, concept or strategy sessions. Campaign concepts, reviewing their online campaigns and giving like free advice on how they execute them. Yeah, that's from the top of my head. And then we have segment B and C, and the smaller they go, the simpler the projects are. Like the smallest being a workshop on how to use Google Analytics.
And if they try before they buy, so they basically you do that for them, you show them the results. Are they allowed to use it, or do they have to pay before they have to use it?
Yeah, we have some restrictions. So we'll just if they decide to go for something, we'll really make a quote and then point out which parts are free. But if they want to use stock images, they have to, pay for it. Or if they have 100 adaptions, they pay for it.
But if you, for instance, develop a logo for them, they cannot use the logo until they actually pay.
No, they can use the logo.
Oh, so this is actually it's more like a free gift before. Okay, yeah.
And what we want to show is the process and how we go about it. So we just don't just go and create a logo, but really the first meeting should be the meeting where we, really show our added value on positioning.
Very cool. I mean, that's in the true spirit of sampling and direct marketing.
Yeah, yeah, we were really thinking like, how do we reach the people that we want to reach? Of course, that's very difficult. We also tried email, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah. And was it successful? How many? Which is the success rate of clients?
Yeah, we are. We've sent out 100 DM packs, and we have 2 like physical meetings planned now. And we do like 50. We send 50 a week, so we are in the process of sending the batches. But we have sent 100 now, and we have 2 actual meetings, and yeah, clients that they want to try something.
Cool, Leonie. I have a question. How do you follow up if you do project? How do you measure if it's successful, and how do you follow up on the project to get a project that you can get paid for?
Yeah, I think the future will have to teach us how that will go. But what we want to do, of course, is really show our added value during the process. And with the information that we're getting, like we did choose projects that we can do quite easily and that we know that we do well. So it was really, yeah, we took a lot of time to really think like which projects do we think are easy for us. We know we're always doing well. Clients are always happy when we do them. Yeah, and then we hope, of course, that we build a relationship and can come up with a following project from there. Yeah. But our intention is like if there's only one, like if you look at the investment, and if there's only one really good client that we can keep for 3 years, it's worth it.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a win.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. Sorry, I was talking for so long.
It was very interesting. That's why I stopped you.
I'm glad.
Next, we have Neil. I hope he's still with us.
I'm still with you. I had to switch location because the wind was getting too windy, but here I am. Just so you know, as I told Cosmin a couple of weeks ago when he asked me to join this to present something, I said, well, I will be in the middle of my holiday and somewhere in the archipelago of Sweden, so I won't be able to like have it to present on screen, but I can surely share my view of the world from a Swedish perspective as I did in April. So if those conditions are okay, I'll say a few words about how our world are developing in Sweden.
Of course.
So the thing about the year for a marketing agency in Sweden, or the working environment in general, is that in July Sweden shut down. We all go on a holiday break at the same time, and you can almost get no one to answer any calls because, as you know, we're in the north and the summer period is kind of short. So for about a 4 week time, there's no one to talk to. So that also sets the mindset of any business, new business development, or like long-term thinking. That sets the total scope of it all. Because as you mentioned, Leonie, we also see the same kind of development in clients being more in the here and now, and are getting more poor to think in the long-term thinking, even though it must be a huge opportunity to think in like the first quarter of 2020, when this should all be not over but stable, and have a plan for that, because business will pick up in what way, in one way or the other. So when the outbreak of the coronavirus happened to us in late March, we had to shut down our office and work from home, and we haven't met the whole team since the week of end of March, and our clients. And we think we have a quite good spread of clients in different types of businesses, quite a kind of secure positioning. But hey, we're in payments. No one is paying that much or consuming. We're in broadcasting, media, and radio. Okay, that's happening. But also like in concerts, that's not happening. mergers and acquisitions. No companies are buying each other anymore. We're working with publishing media too, and also with beer. And beer is the only thing that has been like constant, I think. Beer and cider, alcohol. So our spring has been very, very weird, because everyone in the first couple of weeks, companies and agencies were kind of expecting this to go over in a few weeks. That's how I see it. But then when it turned into like, okay, this is going to be the whole year through, and the perspective changed into this spring is kind of we can't do anything this spring, so let's focus on the fall, the autumn. So with that, there's no summer period for selling, or like late spring period for selling anything really. So all marketing budgets went down the basement, and I think people are in the mindset of waiting for August or September for things to really catch up, both like businesses and agencies. And in the meantime, the government has been very active in like providing all sorts of support for companies. But of course, that comes with a lot of paperwork. So we have been able to get some help from them and work with clients as well. But of course, our revenue has gone down, but not as bad as I expected, actually. We have been reached out to be in pitches, but also like pitches has been postponed or delayed, so no one is really wanting to like talk and think ahead, and that's really weird in my since now we all have time. Instead I think people are working from home and like setting up that, and that takes a lot of time, and just like resetting their mindset on how to work. But in the meantime, we have been thinking about we have like been rewriting our offer to have an offer that will be more in the here and now. And we're basically focused around the word help, which is to offer people, instead of like saying we're doing this and that, we're really like offering help with the communications in general, because I think it feels like everyone is confused out there. And also we're actually looking to be in a new collaborative working space where we see a much more diverse way of working in an office and from home or from here where I'm now, and being part of something like bigger. So we're actually we're a few steps very close to being a part of a bigger, more like body of people creatively. We used to be, as many of you know, mainly digital agency a few years ago, but we're focusing more on the communication side of it. So we're in close contact with a larger agency that is super digital. They come from doing apps and stuff. So we're talking about doing collaborations with them and sitting together, and that's an important part, like sitting together and making stuff happen, making the space of the office more efficient, and also open up for new businesses. So it's what would you add, Per, to this picture I'm trying to paint here?
Well, I guess we're trying to broaden our offer. And when you said about the health thing. Well, it's actually a bit of a trying to get down to basics. Actually, what we actually do. We're a bit playing around with every agency has this fancy strategy and idea what they offer, and we're trying to what we offer is actually help. But you'll see it in due time when it's ready. Hopefully, it's not up yet, so it's not really finished yet. But we're hoping to broaden our offer together with this other company. They are, as Nila said, they are specialized in apps and technology. I think, I mean, programming and stuff. And we can. What they don't though is the creative stuff, as I understand it. So that way we can come in handy.
We actually found out that we can I just pretend that we have the problem of making a campaign that drives traffic.
Yeah.
And it ends up on a poor website. And their problem was that they have a great website, but no one is driving traffic. So we thought, hey, now we have the time to talk and like sit down and like make this analysis together. And since you have like 60 of top developers in Stockholm area, we should maybe sit together, since they have 2 huge office space. We have an office space that we're barely not using, unfortunately. So let's move in together, maybe find something together and see where we go from there. One other thing that I think is very interesting working in this way, like Zoom meetings, Teams meetings or whatever, is that when we started working with Heineken, which is, we work with like 10 of Heineken's brands in Sweden right now. The Swedish marketing CMO, their Swedish CMO left the company. So we had to start working with Amsterdam directly. And that has turned out to work extremely well. Since we cannot meet in person, we have found like a way to build a relationship through this way, which has been truly fun. I mean, it's the best kind of contact I've had with any client, even though the present ones and so forth, where it's super good. And I think that maybe distance in this way feels natural that we meet this way, and that it's I don't know, it just feels natural to be in a Zoom meeting with Amsterdam instead of being in a Zoom meeting with another city in Sweden. I don't know, we could actually go and meet just driving for 2 or 3 hours, but hey, why should you do that, you know? So that's kind of funny. So I would like to work more with. Huh?
If you need a beer expert based in Amsterdam, then
I didn't.
Happy to join the team.
The thing is, we actually don't work. We actually don't work with the Heineken brand. Only sub brands.
It's quite interesting to learn that beer is the only constant in Sweden.
well, the thing is, it's rather funny because we work, for instance, like Mike, we work with Newcastle Brown Ale and Strongbow. I mean, very British products indeed. And we try to make them more like Swedish. Yeah. Trying to make Newcastle Brown Ale to blend into all the Swedish main holiday things. Which and it has that brand tonality that you could play around with. So that has been fun.
As you might know, there's very hard restrictions on doing commercial for alcohol in Sweden, which is a challenge for creative. And I think it's fun actually. To what can you do, what can't you do, and I mean, trying to be right at the what do you call it, the front line. What do you call it? The not stepping over the limits, but just to touch them.
Yeah.
It's
so
fun.
that's about like the picture of Sweden. Like we're on the timing of the Corona crisis was quite bad for us. I mean, coming into the height of the marketing season, and before we put a pause on everything in Sweden. So everybody was waiting for the pause to happen, and now the pause is here. And when it opens up in mid-August, hopefully it'll like switch around again.
I think these challenges are actually unlocking our brains and creativity, because they are forcing us to see things from a different perspective, communicate differently, and so on. So maybe, I don't want to sound weird, but maybe something good will come out of this coronavirus thing.
Oh yeah.
We're going to be much more open-minded, and we're discovering new things. Like you said, we can actually talk online and have a better chemistry maybe online than face-to-face. So there are some pros as well.
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shall we move forward to Jos? Are you ready?
Sorry, was I going to speak? I wasn't aware of that. Actually, yeah, what we right here at the moment, we are pretty much involved with a lot of crisis management with clients. I can echo what Leonie said. We have a lot of hotel chains that were definitely in a state at the beginning of this, and still are in some cases. Business is definitely coming back. How, I don't even understand completely, because most of Asia is still in lockdown. I just had a friend who, after much wrangling, got permission to go back home to Japan, and was on an airplane from Singapore to Tokyo with 5 other passengers. So
Wow.
it's definitely still very much. Society here is coming back a little bit more to normal. In Singapore, you're allowed outside again. Hong Kong at the moment has its 3rd wave, so they're locking down again. Australia is locking down. So these are still very, very strange times. Yeah, and in several levels, we are finding out that thinking out of the box. One thing, not so much to do with the agency, but I'm vice chairman of the local direct marketing association, of data-driven marketing association, as we call it, as well. And we have found out we have a regular meeting every Thursday afternoon, which is called Soundbites, which typically attracts about 30 people. If you have a really popular speaker or brand, maybe more like 60. But that's about it. We have moved Soundbites to Zoom, and now routinely score 80 to 90 attendance, sometimes over 100.
Wow.
So that's sort of an interesting thing to find out. Another thing you find out is, because we always try to do local speakers, of course, because it's just a Thursday afternoon thing, and we don't have budget for airline tickets for speakers to come to Singapore. But if you do them online anyway, it took us a while to figure out that actually you could do Soundbites International and pick somebody from anywhere in the world, as long as they could do it in a decent time zone. And that's even driving more participation at the moment. So definitely I can echo what Niels said, is that in some ways, if you really, this is my learning from that, if you really move stuff online, and you start thinking about the new possibilities and seeing it as its own medium, not as an ersatz for being face to face, what your first reaction is, I want to be face to face. I cannot be face to face. So okay, then we try to emulate a face to face meeting on video call or Zoom or whatever it is. But I think the learning here is that you should see this in its own right, and say, okay, what's this meeting going to look like? How do I prepare best for it? And how do I entertain people on the other line? Or how do I keep their interest or get them to do what I want them to do? This is very much still in association context with clients at the moment. It's still very much on the phone. Most people don't have their camera on, even if they do FaceTime or WhatsApp calls, in my experience. So it's still strange times with lots of telephone contact and spending days on alternatingly on the phone and behind your screen. So that's still something that I was about to say we're getting used to, but probably we'll never get used to. So we'll have to find something about that. Apart from that, we are having very strong restrictions here. So if you have an office with about 15 people in it, you are allowed only to have 5 people at any given point in time. And by the way, one consequence of COVID is also that you order a lot of things to the home. You don't go to shops anymore, which gets me to the following. I'm getting a delivery right now. You just heard the doorbell. So if you excuse me for a moment.
Sure. Leonie, I was thinking that you mentioned about people gardening more because where they can go anywhere, so they sit in the garden. And while you were talking, my neighbor was doing some renovating or something. I had to mute my mic, and I was thinking that that's our type of gardening. You know, people that live in flats and blocks of flats, that's the gardening we do. So I think in our country, a lot of people started ordering construction tools and stuff and started renovating.
Oh, of course, yeah. I recognize that. I think people in the city here as well, it's the same thing. We also work for Stanley Black & Decker, and you see that the do-it-yourself tools, they really have an uplift. Yeah,
that's our garden. We wish we had a garden, but we're just gonna tear down walls.
Yeah, make it as nice as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
In Singapore, we're doing a lot of staycation campaigns right now. That's I've always hated the word. It's definitely taking hold. It stands for something you don't see so much in the European countries. It's vacationing in your own city or town. But of course, Singapore is a city by itself, so it's probably a bit more natural thing to do. And if you can't travel, a lot of people, the only way to do here is staycations. So
it's funny though, because in the mountain areas in the north of Sweden, they have like 600% more people, and which created a lot of trouble for like the reindeer people.
Oh, right.
It's like, hey, don't get out of the car and photo the reindeer. They will get scared. And on the west coast, they have too much people on the beaches because no one is going abroad. So it's like, hey, you can't stay this close to each other. Too many people staying in Sweden for these, since everyone is taking vacation, having a vacation like the same kind of week.
No problems.
Yeah, but I was kind of curious how the UK situation was, because I hear a lot of news about the UK and how it's doing.
I think it's easing up quite a lot, but we've got the same problems about holidays in the UK are completely booked out, and we're sort of some in terms of tourism, some markets have opened up. So we've sent some early kind of stag parties to Mallorca, which haven't gone down very well with the locals there. Yeah, and we've got one of our colleagues is Greek and has gone home, and he's had to quarantine for a week arriving in Greece, but it seems quite relaxed. I mean, I think, in Greek style, they tested him at the border. He got a negative result, so he sort of went, well, that means I don't need to stay in anymore. I suppose it's fair enough. But yeah, I think generally speaking, in terms of the UK, I mean, we've obviously mishandled the crisis like astonishingly, but I think numbers, we've sort of belatedly got there. So I think numbers now are pretty much on a par with the average across the EU. We're just, it's just weird, but we're just introducing restrictions like from Tomorrow, it's compulsory to wear masks in shops. Thinking, yeah, why start now? But you know, that's what that's what they're doing. And I think you know, next month. I mean, but in terms of work, that's a big thing. And I think a lot of people are talking about what's happening in city centres, and a lot of people working from home, and actually it's worked fine. I think everybody on this call is probably feeling the same way, that it's been, you know, the same or better than it was working in the office. We've managed to replicate a lot of the things. So that's a big problem for the kind of investment and the kind of human investment in city centres. You know, I live about 10 miles outside of London, so I'd normally get a train in, and I can see the train going past. When I watch and see it, even at peak time, there's 5 or 10 people on a train. So it's going to take an awful lot to bring that back. So yeah, I think it'll be like this for a while. You know, and if I was cynical, I think it'll be like this. We've had some really lovely weather as well. All the time that we've had a pandemic, we also had really nice weather. I think if you get back to something more traditional, then our behaviours, we might think, you know what, I'm sick of, you know, my house. It's fine if I can walk in the park, but you know, I may as well go into the office.
I think this is going to have a lasting effect. I see behaviors changing in a very big way, and it's just speculative. I mean, there's 2 ways to go from here. Either this is over in another couple of months or so, and everybody goes back to exactly the same as it was before, or this has a lasting impact and people's behavior will have changed. We find out after a half year from now, and I tend to think the latter. And especially also consumer behavior is being driven online in a very, very big way. So I think that's there's no turning back from that. This is my feeling. So I think if you start thinking on behalf of your customers, I think that's very much something that should be taken into account. I mean, this virus is some kind of, you know, ideal transmission agent in the way that it creates delayed transmissions and creates the way that you can have transmissions with people who look healthy and all that kind of stuff, almost like it was made for it. So that means that, and there's no vaccine inside that's going to protect you longer than a couple of months. So this means that society is going to change about this. There's, to me, there's no doubt about that, and that means that that will have impact on people's habits. And I think I think this is a very interesting time to be in marketing, because, you know, let's face it, in marketing, what you're doing is you're in the business of creating habits. And nothing is more, I learned this at Unilever, nothing is more difficult than to change somebody's habit. If somebody's already buying another product and you want them to buy your product instead, you know that there's a huge mountain to hurdle to take. But in a time of changing habits, it is much easier to lock in people's behavior if you find the right groove. And that's companies like Procter & Gamble know that, because they market to young parents, first-time parents, and they know if you're a first-time parent, everything in your life changes and every habit you ever had changes. So that makes you really receptive to new offers. And I think we live in such a time as well. We're all, I'm not saying we're all young parents, but we're all you know, subject to very much changing habits, and our clients should be seeing opportunities there, and we should be helping helping them to monetize those opportunities. And there's a lot going on that respect. And I think we've not even seen the first bit of it.
Yeah, I think that indeed people are resistant to change, but because we're talking of a long period of time, months, and I think this coronavirus will keep on going, they're gonna adapt, and then they're gonna be set in their ways, and I don't think they will go back to the way things were. No. Exactly, because they're resistant to change. So
Yeah, if you force change upon them, they'll have to change, and this is what's happening now.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, you already see it in office behavior. Most companies, from big to small, I see right now, are reluctant to go back to the office. In Singapore, you can go back to the office if you want, even if you don't man it completely. You can have about one third of seats covered at any given point in time. But Hewlett Packard, for instance, with 12,000 people here in Singapore alone, has already announced that they will not go back to the office before November, and possibly not even this year. So and there's a lot of companies. We are in the same situation. I still have no plans to go back to the office. Our Bangkok office is still same. The only difference is Philippines, where people have really bad internet and they all want to go back to the office. So the Philippines can't wait till. The big problem there is that public transport is not running, so they can't get to the office. But once public transport starts again, they will go back. But again, this working from home and working on a distance is going to really change people's habits on a corporate level in a very big way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, it's. I'm looking at the moment when we go back. We are not going back to an office. I actually, before this all started, I'd already started looking at co-working spaces, which are in Singapore at least. Are utterly luxurious. There is loads of them. I think there's an oversupply in the market, so there's good deals to be had. But I also remember, so I did. This was around February when I sort of made the rounds and say, okay, if I later go to co-working, what would I choose? And there are really nice ones, but they all have the same configuration. You go to a place that has anywhere between about 100 to 200 workspaces, which you can rent as flex spaces or fixed desks, or you can rent private rooms or any combination thereof. And then around the reception area, there's clustered about half a dozen meeting rooms that are for everybody's use. And if you take a subscription for seats, then you get an X number of hours of meeting room per person. Included in your subscription. But you can already see from the number of meeting rooms that there will be a fight for who gets access to those meeting rooms. What I now think is going to happen is if people go to co-working spaces, I feel this I'm not sure how you guys feel that, but from my point of view, what I would like is I still need an office. So we still need an anchor point, but you don't need as many seats as you have people, because most people on average will be working from home. And what do you need the office for? You need the office for the things that you actually cannot replace, and that is teamwork, meetings, team meetings, all hands meetings, seeing each other every once in a while. I mean, you can't completely do everything from a distance forever. And that means that all those co-working spaces, I think, have a problem, because I think they should be converting about half the flex spaces they have into meeting rooms, because people will need more meeting room and less office room. And that's very much the situation, at least from our point of view. I'm not sure how you guys see it. If I would reconvert our office, I would go back to our office. I would do the same. I would basically take half the seats out and make a couple of meeting and chill out rooms there, and have only a small amount of space dedicated to workspaces for those who are there. And I think that's the future. So I think that's going to. Yeah, that was Nila.
Yeah, I just said I agree, and that's exactly my thoughts on co-working spaces and offices.
Yeah, but that means that they should all be renovating now, because they still don't look like that. I was in one earlier this week, and it still looked the same. And I was actually having a meeting with somebody else there, but I asked the reception. I said, "Okay, did you? If I would rent here now, what?" And it's the same kind of. They're still on the same footing. They still rent you an office space. Yeah, you get 6 hours per month for the conference room. What? I mean,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. yeah, and of course they can't give you more, because you know there's only if you do the math, all the people they rent out to, they can't give them more than 6 hours each, because otherwise the conference room will not be available. Then you get a problem. So yeah, I foresee massive. I think if you're in the office, you have a really big opportunity right now. That's clear.
Interesting. Thank you very much. We're 7 minutes past our ending day, but it's okay. I was wondering if anyone wants to add anything. Yes, Leonie. Your mic is off.
I was just waiting because I really have to go to another meeting. But thank you.
Wave your hands, boys. Wave your hands. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you all for participating.
I can add that I think that in the future, in the near future, I think there will be an incentive when companies hire people. The incentive will be, we'll fix your home office if you come work with us.
Yeah.
We'll set up your home office.
Yeah.
Maybe even fix the internet line and everything.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Because I mean, companies see a big. I mean, they can save some money in this, the smaller offices and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Some companies, hi, Leena, here, some companies in India are already asking their employees that do they need any help to, set up at home. Because they believe that it's a good long-term alternative to the expensive real estate leases that we have.
Yeah.
So we've already shut down our offices in Delhi and Bangalore because we have just very few people. Bombay, we still have too many, so it's a challenge. We're still wondering what to do. And infrastructure is a huge challenge for many employees because houses are small.
Yeah.
And plus now with schools also starting, so there is a problem of having even sufficient laptops. There's one laptop in the family or two laptops, and then online classes are going on plus Zoom meetings. So a lot of challenges that employers and employees are now facing and trying to meet, because as we have all have been saying, this is a long-term problem that we all have. So
yeah, this. I mean, the situation is different in different countries, and you're pointing out a very good thing there, Lena. That I mean, we see the same in Philippines. That if people's housing situation is different, then a lot of them will opt for going back to the office whenever they can. And I think in sort of in more urban environments, I think that drive is less there. So are finding out that it's actually not too bad to work from home if you have good infrastructure, good internet, aircon. In Singapore.
I think we'll see a lot of future problems too. Unfortunately, with I mean, nervous breakdowns for sitting at home all the time, family problems, who's gonna sit where when everyone's working from home, etc. It's gonna be interesting to see in a year or two how it will turn out.
So we are actually going to be conducting mental health awareness programs for our employees from next week, and we are taking it one department at a time. So because it is important to do that, we've also given them helplines so that if they feel too stressed, then they can call for some professional help. So from next week, some of you know my niece Sarika, so she is doing psychology. So she is at taking some workshops for our employees from next week. So it's important, yes, because there are a lot of frustrations and the heat, and now the monsoon in India at least is not helping.
Thank you all for presenting.
Thank you.
For being present.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Alina,
very
for
much.
presiding.
I'm really glad that we got to do this. I personally think we should do it again, because things are changing constantly, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to talk about. I'm excited to see you again, and please don't forget to submit your cases for the IDN Awards. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, bye everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Bye,
Hey guys.
everyone.
See you.
Have a
Thank you.
wonderful
summer.
day.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone. Yeah, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank
Hey,
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Alina.